for the press conference, and we'd be very, very delighted. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the media. This afternoon, I'm pleased to report as COP23 President that things are going well at the halfway point. In the first week of COP, we have achieved a great deal of substance. Firstly, I'm delighted to announce that the Gender Action Plan has been finalized by the parties. This recognizes the role of women in climate action. We are also very pleased with the progress being made with the Talanoa Facilitative Dialogue. There has been widespread consensus among all parties, and I look forward to announcing the design of the dialogue at the closing plenary. That's when the real work will begin, and which we will look forward to delivering throughout next year in the Talanoa spirit of respectful cooperation, devoid of finger pointing. Ladies and gentlemen, overall, clear progress is being made on the implementation of the Paris Agreement. Work has proceeded in a constructive fashion, and we are making headway on many key elements of the implementation guidelines. There is, of course, much work still to be done, but I'm encouraged by the posting reports of the presiding officers. I will continue to work closely with them in the coming week and with the parties on the way forward for our negotiations next year. By Friday next week, next Friday, I want us to have reached a result that demonstrates that we are on track to finalizing the implementation guideline of the Paris Agreement, and that lays out a plan for how we complete the work for a successful outcome next year. We have heard clearly from many parties the sense of urgency to increase ambition and action. As we look forward to next week, we are encouraging all parties to provide the political will necessary to achieve an ambitious outcome at COP23, which include, of course, the pre-2020 commitments and actions. We will hear more about the state of play from our chief negotiator shortly, but to summarize, I think we enter the second week in good shape, and this time, and this is very gratifying when you consider the complexity of these issues and what's at stake. As I've said before, the only way for any nation to put itself first in relation to climate change is to join hands with other nations and move forward together. That is the message I'm conveying to all parties, and especially those who have particular issues that matter deeply to them. I keep saying that we are all in the same canoe. No one is immune to climate change, and we must focus not on our differences, but the absolute imperative to move this process forward. We need unity throughout. As I say, our chief negotiator, Ambassador Nazat Shamim Khan, can take specific questions on the negotiations, and our climate champion, Minister Seri Ratu, is also here to address any queries you may have on the climate action agenda. You'll have heard me talking about the importance of our grand coalition, in which we are linking national governments, the parties, the governments at every level, civil society, the private sector, and ordinary men and women everywhere. So there is a certain symbolism in holding this news conference in the Bond Zone, because this is where Fiji's concept of the grand coalition is really coming to life at this COP. Yesterday I was at the American Pledge with Governor Jerry Brown and Mike Bloomberg, with the rest of governors and from throughout the states, and NGOs and non-state actors. And sometime last week I was at the closing ceremony of the Confrence of Youth, with some 1,000 youths from 114 countries gathered. Well, these are the part of the coalition that we're looking at to help us fight climate change. I want to especially thank the UNFCCC and its Executive Secretary, Patricia Espinosa, for its support for our presidency, and also the German government, the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, and the wonderful people of Bonn. There is no doubt that without the assistance of the German government, we wouldn't have a small island nation state would not have the opportunity to preside over a COP. We were determined to bring our Bulla spirit 16,000 kilometers across the world and bring Fiji to Bonn. We were also determined to bring our Talanoa concept to the negotiation and move them along in a spirit of respect, focused on the delivery of the common good. And I'm very pleased that halfway through the COP, the world is responding to the Fijian presidency in such a positive way.
It's been a very busy week, but there has been some significant steps towards progress. And just on the Paris Agreement work program, work has advanced on several very, very important agenda items. And of course now the challenge for this week is to see all of it put together and to see the presidency working very closely with the subsidiary body chairs to ensure that there is significant progress at COP23 to allow negotiations to proceed next year, because of course the deadline for the implementation guidelines is at COP24 in 2018. So we really should show significant progress, and I'm really happy to say that from the steps taken so far in the negotiations, it looks very encouraging. And we're very happy to see that there is a good and constructive spirit in the negotiations.
As the global climate champion, I wish to say that it's indeed satisfying and it's indeed very encouraging to see the role that the non-party stakeholders are undertaking in terms of their contribution towards reduction in global warming, and of course contributing towards the implementation of the Paris Agreement. We have seen over the last few days, starting on Friday, the beginning of the 3 days dedicated to the thematic areas that contribute about 80% of global warming, on agriculture, on human settlements, on energy, on water, on forests, human settlements. This is concluding today, but it's encouraging to see the new innovations, the technology, and the efforts, including financing aspects, that the non-party stakeholders are undertaking in the implementation of the Paris Agreement.
This is a very special conference. The format of the conference is very special. The first time that we have a small island developing state presiding over what has become the biggest conference, multilateral conference that takes place annually. So this has done in a very exemplary manner in cooperation between Fiji, small island developing state, and Germany, a big country, very important and strong country economically, and supported by the climate change, UN Climate Change Secretariat. So I would underline this because I really think it's a model of cooperation that is likely to bear very positive fruits.